Baby, you are now rocking with the best Bleav in Cowboys, brought to you by FanDuel. Parrish, Jesse Holley on your screen. Another week, another opportunity to talk about these Cowboys. No need to look at the watch because we saw what Micah Parsons did for the Packers. We saw that he wreaked havoc, just as we know that he does, but we're just going to move along. Cowboys home opener, New York Giants coming to town. We know that the Giants aren't the same Giants, or maybe they are the same Giants. Anyway, before we start the show, let me allow Jesse to bless the people before I continue to ramble.
Yeah, man, what's going on, man? A new week. I'm excited to be back here, man. And I've been watching film all week, so I'm ready to break this thing down and give you the goods for this Cowboys New York Football Giants matchup this weekend, 12 noon here in DFW. It's gonna be great, man. The Cowboys home opener. The Cowboys they're a very funny team. 2 years ago, the Cowboys were literally unbeatable at home. I mean, belt to tail, they were putting on cats' heads. And then you come to last year, they couldn't win a game at home. People say the wine and cheese crowd. So I don't know. So we get our first chance to see the new look Dallas Cowboys at home at AT&T this Sunday against the New York Football Giants, and I'm excited about it.
Yes, indeed. And of course, FanDuel brings us all to you looking at things overall, the big picture. Cowboys right now favored by 4.5, so that's a sizable margin. Seeing the fact that, when we factor into it, you got to start at the top, the head. Dak Prescott, we know how impressive he looked on the Thursday night opener. He has 13 straight wins. Yes, 13 straight wins against the New York Football Giants. It's not a coincidence. He's a top-level quarterback. He's been an MVP candidate, and we know, Jesse, that it starts with Dak and what he wants to do with leading this offense.
No, it absolutely does. And, what a day for Dak to have this weekend. And I think that he will be able to have it if the Cowboys and Brian Schottenheimer can find a way to block it up. The Giants have a terrific front four with names like Sexy Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. And then you have the young rookie Abdul Carter that kind of finishes off that pack. But the Giants are so bad in the secondary. Just to give you kind of numbers to where Dak and CeeDee Lamb have dominated the New York Giants since 2021. Dak has 1,548 passing yards, 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and CeeDee Lamb has 692 yards and 5 touchdowns against the Giants since 2021. So these two understand how to work together at any time, but definitely against the New York Giants. And I think this is going to be one of those bounce-back games for CeeDee Lamb after he had the 4 drops last week against the Eagles.
Yeah, those drops, those were national news. We had people going back and forth saying things about that. We've heard CeeDee this past week talk about how disappointed he was in himself. We saw him the day after the game go to the practice facility and break out that jugs machine. When you see CeeDee, obviously we know that he is not normal. He is not your average receiver, clearly an all-pro. He's in the conversation to be one of the best wideouts in the league. It's definitely going to be a rebound game. What do you expect from number 88 when he steps on the field Sunday?
Normal CeeDee Lamb stuff. Like, even with the 4 drops last week, he still had over 100 yards receiving on, I think, 7 or 8 catches that he had. So, like, normal routine stuff for CeeDee Lamb, goes out there and just puts on a performance. The drops were so significant because they were at a critical time of the game where you needed them at the most, right? And so he understands that. And even Dak talked about it this week. He goes, listen, if there's one guy I'm not worried about, it's number 88. And if you think I'm going to stop going to him because he had a couple of drops, you're out of your mind. I'm going back to him. Brian Schottenheimer said it on the radio this morning. They talked about the targets. He was like, listen, CeeDee Lamb is going to get the targets. That's not going to stop us from giving CeeDee Lamb the football because he had a couple drops. He's going to get it early. He's going to get it often. And he's just that type of a player. So I don't expect any more drops. I get it. Drops happen in the football game. I get it. You don't want drops to happen in the football game. CeeDee Lamb's still CeeDee Lamb, right? He's still going to go out there and be unguardable. Like, no, even the pass that he dropped, it wasn't like because he had tight coverage on him. He was open, wide open on a lot of those in regards to the NFL standards about being wide open on all of those drops. Those are just lack of concentration. something that you don't think he's going to do again. I expect CeeDee Lamb is going to come out and have another day where he's over 100 yards and another dominant day. He'll probably get in the end zone a couple times. So it'll be ho-hum work for CeeDee Lamb this week against the New York Giants.
So obviously we know that Brian Schottenheimer comes in. We know his resume. We've seen what he's been able to do in training camp. On to that first game of the season. A lot of people around the league have been extremely complimentary of him, especially Phil Simms. We know him for being the MVP of the Super Bowl back in the day of the Giants, legendary quarterback. When it comes to Shotty, we want to go deeper into this, but just as far as drawing up that first 15, making sure you're getting every guy involved. So what do you expect from Brian Schottenheimer when it comes to that first 15 in reference to the player we just talked about in CeeDee Lamb?
I think he did a great job opening the game last week. I love the way that he was able to motion the football. He talks about the physicality, right? And it's in the run game, it's in the blocking scheme, it's in the way that you run routes. He wants to be physical in it. He understands coming home, the crowd will be in it, so he has to make sure that he keeps them in it throughout that game. But just take what the defense is giving you. He's done if I've done studying this week on the New York Giants, I know he's done quadruple of what I've done. So he understands where the advantages are in that defense, where the holes are in that defense. He also understands that he can't call plays and draw plays that are going to require Dak Prescott to hold the ball for a very long time, unless he decides to block it up with extra men at the line of scrimmage because of that vaunted pass rush that the Giants do have up front. So I think with Shotty, last week he impressed me with the ability to come into that game. He wasn't overwhelmed. Talking about being on the road in Philadelphia, banner hanging night for the Philadelphia Eagles. He handled that first opening 15 plays very well. The Cowboys went down and scored. They couldn't score to save their lives on opening drives last year. They go down and score in their first 2 or 3 possessions. That just showed you that they're fully in control of this offense. He and Dak Prescott are on the same page. And now you have to just carry that over into this week, not get outside yourself, not try to kind of win the game in the first quarter because it's impossible to do that. But just go out there, take what the defense is giving you, and just make completions and make plays.
Yes, indeed. The offense we know was historically bad in multiple areas of last season when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, especially scoring in the first quarter near the bottom half of the NFL when it comes to that statistic. But back to Shotty, when it comes to him, we know that he's been in the league, again, for a very long time. The way he's approached things, he's been very methodical, but he's been very confident in his actions, the way he's carried himself in managing the game, because this is a person that, not necessarily in his time being an assistant, a career coordinator, never really lobbied to be the head coach, but he showed that he can clearly carry that role of head coach the way he was able to manage everything offensively, defensively, even off the top when you have a player from another team spit in your starting quarterback's face, how to handle that and continue to call a great game.
Yeah, he's a coach's kid, right? So he's been around this game for a long time. He had a great example in his dad, Marty Schottenheimer. So I'm sure he's just, reliving those moments and how to handle situations. The greatest thing about Shotty, and I can say this as seeing it up close and personal and then watching it from a distance, is his relationships, right? Like, he has great relationships with his players. They trust him. He trusts them. He's open communication with them. He gives them the opportunity to have a voice, and not everybody gets to have a voice, but those who are significant players in the situation get a chance to have a voice in how things operate, as far as game planning and such like that. So for him, this is, he hasn't been overwhelmed. Think about all the off-season stuff. He just hasn't been consumed by it. And, right now we're still earlier in the season. They are down 1 game so far. So it's not panic mode for him. He can stay the course and do what he do, but he comes in very confident, and that goes a long way from a head coaching position.
Now, when you see that as a player, when you see a coach that could be looked at as a player's coach that has great relationships with guys, how does that affect, number one, you as a player overall, but then the grand scheme? How does it affect the locker room when you have a guy like that is liked and accepted by the players?
Anytime you're in that locker room role, the one thing that you want to make sure that you are is authentic. That's the one thing that people always get a chance to see and always get a chance to judge you off of. If you're authentic, that goes a long way, because what you're asking me to do, yes, it is my job to do it, but how can I put this? There has to be this level of respect from one another. I respect you, you respect me. I know that you're not, shooting me some bull. I'm not going to shoot you no bull. And we're going to keep this thing 100. And that's how you get the best out of your players, because if you present yourself one way in front of the media, but behind closed doors, you're a complete opposite, now you become fake to me. So now me going over and beyond the call of my duties are few and far between, because I don't trust you, I don't like you, I don't respect you. And that's the biggest thing in the locker room. It's about garnering that respect. And I think that's the thing that Shotty has really gotten from his players, is that they like him, they respect him. And so when he goes to say things, especially in the critical moments, it's easy when everything is all, rainbows and roses for us to communicate. It's when it gets ugly, right? When things aren't going right. And I might have to kind of, get into you a little bit. Does that come from a place of love? Does it come from a place where I can say, you know what? He's not just screaming because of the cameras are here. We have talked about this. The relationship is authentic. So when he's yelling or I'm yelling, we know that there's a love relationship there. So I'm able to accept it, hear what he's actually saying, listen to what he's saying, and not reject it, but accept it as somewhere from a good place that's going to help everybody. And that starts with the relationship. You can't ask me to go out there and put my life on the line for you down in and down out when I don't have that type of relationship with you. Yes, I'll do my job, but it's the going above and beyond doing my job is where the relationship comes in and truly gives that extra oomph that you need from a head coach and from a player.
Right. I heard you say that extra oomph. Speaking of extra oomph, I heard Shotty in one of the press conferences talking about getting explosive plays in the running game. What we saw in game 1 versus Philadelphia, the offensive line had that extra when it comes to pushing forward. We didn't necessarily see that consistently last season. So in getting those explosive plays in the running game, whether it be Javonte Williams, whether it be Miles Sanders, going against this New York Giants front line, which appears to have a couple of holes here and there, where do you see the Cowboys having an advantage with their run game?
I don't think this is going to be the game where you see the Cowboys really, get after it on the ground. Javonte Williams is a tough, hard-nosed runner, right? So he's going to fall forward. He's going to get 3-4 yards a clip, right, at a time. But because of the way that they get such great push on the Giants defensive line, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to get the run game going. But like I said earlier, there's such an advantage for the Cowboys in the passing game. So I know that you have to run it to keep the defense honest, and you want to kind of keep things on schedule and kind of not get too far away from it and not be able to establish some sort of a running game. But they're going to have such a major advantage in the passing game with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert and Jake Ferguson. The Giants in the secondary, they don't have the horses to keep up. They're very, very putrid in the secondary. So if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, I'm looking at things and saying, hey, I get the running game going by doing things like screen plays, bubble screens, things where I'm doing extended handoffs, right? Not necessarily turning around, running counters and running leads into the line of scrimmage, because you're going to run into a wall. And, you don't have the quarterback like Jayden Daniels where they're a dual threat quarterback. Yes, Dak Prescott is mobile, but you're not putting him in the RPO game, 15, 16 times a game where he's going to go and get 60, 70 yards in the running game. So, with that kind of, aspect of it, they're going to be coming downhill, really trying to lock that thing up. And they have the overall, when you look at the line of scrimmage, the Giants defense, to me, has the better line of scrimmage defensively going up against the Cowboys offensive line. So I don't think the running game is going to be very prominent or dominant today. Not today, but on Sunday. But that passing game, bro, I think that passing game is where the Cowboys will cut their teeth in this game and really be able to make some head.
We continue to cut our teeth right here, Bleav in Cowboys. Jesse Holley, former Cowboys wide receiver, and Roe Parrish of Hostess with the Mostest. Obviously, we know when it comes to the NFC East, these are rivalry games. Now, the New York Giants, many have looked at them by saying this is going to be a down year. You have what you want to call stopgap quarterback coming in Russell Wilson, a veteran who's a Super Bowl champion, who's probably on the brink of maybe being in that Hall of Fame conversation. You have a first-round draft pick in Jackson Dart who comes in, and the fans, a lot of people want to see him play. From the defensive standpoint, game planning for the New York Giants, we obviously know that Russell Wilson is still the starter. However, there's been whispers that we might see Jackson Dart come in for a play or two here or there. When it comes to preparation in this situation, when you have a veteran quarterback and then you have a young buck who people want to see play, schematically, how do you go about planning in that situation?
you always plan for the starter, the guys who you feel going to get the most reps. It's one thing for a guy to come in certain package plays, but if it's 3, 4, 5 plays that Jackson Dart gets, those you would hope that those plays don't burn you too much. But you go out there and you prepare for Russell Wilson, but you always know in the back of your mind that there will be some other package thing that we throw at them if they go to this particular quarterback. The thing that the Cowboys have to really prepare for is they're down at cornerback. Deron Bland hurt his foot early in the week. And so now in the passing game, you're looking at, all right, who are the Cowboys going to go out there? Trayvon Diggs was on the pitch count last week. He's probably going to get a full game's worth of plays this week. Kyrie Elam's coming in on the other side. But what happens now when the Giants go to 11 personnel? The Cowboys now have to make a decision on whether we're going to be able to bring in a guy like Reddy Stewart or Tyquez Bridges, or even use, I heard Brian Schottenheimer allude to this, maybe using Wanye Thomas a little bit in the nickel situation. And so for the Cowboys defense, they will have to be ready for Malik Nabers. And he is, and Wan'Dale Robinson, who is a slot guy. So preparing for this, I'm going to prepare for Russell Wilson. I'm going to get all my ducks in a row to be able to stop what they do with Russell Wilson. And then if they go into Jackson Dart later on, then I adjust on the run. The Cowboys did 100% zone coverage last week. So when you're playing zone coverage, you just kind of basically say, hey, if you're just in your zone, if you're in your spot, if you're where you're supposed to be, then we'll be good. We're not chasing guys around all across the field to get mixed up. So I prepare for Russell Wilson. I adjust to Jackson Dart, and I get my wins when I can get my wins within that defense.
Now, how big of a factor is familiarity? We know that Brian Schottenheimer spent time with Russell Wilson in Seattle. He obviously worked with the player there, has an intimate knowledge of his playing style, strengths, weaknesses. How big a factor, although that was many years ago, how big a factor does that play, or does it even play a factor when you match up later on in your careers?
Yeah, absolutely. There are tendencies that every player has, right? And it's all about, can you find them, and can you find them when they're going to use them? So with Brian Schottenheimer knowing Russell Wilson, they've had intimate conversations about what is his strengths, what is his weaknesses. He knows certain things about Russell Wilson that many others don't, because of the close knit that they had when they spent their time in Seattle. So it's all about being able to say, hey, here are some of the tendencies. And, even if it's, hey, I know that every time he adjusts his helmet that he's going to throw the ball, every time that he does something to his shoulder pad, that's probably going to be a run play. And I'll give you a quick story about familiarity. Is when I was with Cincinnati Bengals, Al Harris was the cornerback in the Green Bay Packers. And he picked up on these little telltale signs because he watched and played against Chad Johnson so much that when Chad Johnson broke the huddle, that he would always fix his gloves in some sort of way when the ball was going to be thrown. Not necessarily thrown to him, but it was going to be a passing play. And when it was a run play, he didn't do it. And Chad, we went back and watched it on the film, and sure enough, he did it. So it's all those little telltale signs that you can pick up on when you can know, you know what, he fixes his gloves, it's probably going to be a pass play. I might need to check to something. I might need to play this a little bit differently. So, having that knowledge of Russell Wilson can definitely help. It's all about, being able to target it when it's going to happen and see if you can capitalize on it.
Of course, capitalize, and that's what the Cowboys want to do as they have their home opener. Bleav in Cowboys is the name of the show. Parrish and Jesse Holley. Now, you're a pass catcher, and you talked about there being holes in the secondary for the New York Giants. That's what your film study tells you. We know that the Cowboys, as you mentioned, Bland is not going to be there. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future, although he just got that contract. At least he's going to feel good when that direct deposit clears, although he's going to be nursing that injury. Anyway, all that being said, when you're a pass catcher and you know that there's some people that are banged up in the secondary and there's going to be some opportunities for you, what is your mindset going into said game when you know you're going to have a lot of chances to eat?
No, and this goes from both sides of the ball. If I'm Malik Nabers, right, I'm in Russell Wilson's ear all week long. I'm like, hey, Russ, hey, they down the corner, man. Listen, bro, like, hey, we missed a couple shots last week, and you want to go in and watch a little more film so we can make sure we're on top. Same thing. If I'm CeeDee Lamb, or if I'm George Pickens, I'm in Dak Prescott's ear like, listen, bro, did you see what I saw on film? Man, they are cooked in the back end of that defense, right? Like, man, listen, we can hit this, we can hit that. So I'm constantly putting there was a movie, I think it's called Focus, right, with Will Smith, where all day long he's just putting these signs in this guy's head so that later on they all come into play. I'm dropping a little bit of like crumbs all week long in the ear of Dak Prescott or the ear of Russell Wilson saying, hey man, look, and they down the corner, listen. Hey coach, listen, if they're gonna put this dude Reddy Stewart in the slot, I need to be in the slot a little bit more this week. I'm working my quarterback all week long and just dropping nuggets in his ear, dropping, I'm like, hey, look, this the look right here. And this the look right here. I'm putting that in his mind so that when we get to the game, he comes up and I look at him like, this the look. He like, this the look, this the look. So it's constantly putting those little bit of nuggets in their ears, in their heart, in their head, so that when we get to the game, they've heard me enough throughout the week that they're like, I got it, Jess. I got it, bro. Like, okay. So that when it comes up on the game, you just know it. And that's when that chemistry comes where, you can look in at your quarterback, he can look outside at you, and now we're seeing the exact same thing because we watched it on film. I've told you about it all week. We repped it in practice, so that now all I'm doing in the game is when you look at me and I look at you, we're on the same page and we're able to connect on that.
Same page. And you say that, and I just got a flashback. Again, this is not a shameless plug, but watching the Cowboys documentary, Jerry Jones, there was a scene when he's talking about Jimmy Johnson. He said, one of the advantages about knowing someone for years, you can often communicate with nothing but eyes. No words come out, but you're talking to me, baby.
Yeah.
Man, Jerry said that, and I bust out. Again, they did a masterful job with the documentary, with the cinematography of, Jimmy Johnson sitting there as Jerry Jones is saying this line. We know what happened with that story. Back to present day, Bleav in Cowboys, Parrish, Jesse Holley, brought to you by FanDuel. So a lot of talk about pass catchers. So over or under. Now, this is more a prop bet. Number one receiver that has more yards receiving at the end of the game, is it going to be number one Malik Nabers, or is it going to be number 88 CeeDee Lamb?
That's a great question. And I'm honestly going to say Malik Nabers.
Okay, now why are you going to say that?
Because he is first of all, there's always a pattern, right? Malik Nabers was spazzing on the sideline in the first half of the first game of the season, and he is spazzing on the sideline. They take note to that, okay? They take note to that. And the last couple of games, the last two games for the Cowboys, Malik Nabers has 20 receptions for 180 yards. No touchdowns, but they get the ball to Malik Nabers. They what we call spam Malik Nabers. They get it to him early and often and early and late and early, and they find Malik Nabers. And so, with him being the main focal point in that offense, and I do Bleav that Russell will probably have a little bit more time in the pocket because the Cowboys don't have a prolific defensive front. Of course, they don't have the guy who had 8 pressures in a game just last night anymore. He's in Wisconsin right now. So, and Russell's still a little bit mobile, but in the zone coverage that the Cowboys play, they're going to play some cover 3. There are holes in there, and Malik Nabers is really good. And if Russell can connect with that, they're going to try to find Malik Nabers early and often because he's the one thing, the one savior that they have, on that offense that the Cowboys honestly, I don't know if they can't stop him. They've struggled to stop him in the past. They've kind of almost been like, let him get his and let anybody else get there. So in that number, I look at it and I go, all right, cool. Malik Nabers is probably going to have his day and have his numbers, but also the Cowboys, they are at home. That secondary is a lot more weak for the Giants, and I think the distribution will be spread around a little bit more between CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens because, again, Brian Schottenheimer is very, very aware of what is being said about he and his football team, and because George Pickens only had 4 targets for 3 catches last week, I'm willing to bet a pack of cookies that they're going to try to get George Pickens the football this weekend in AT&T Stadium.
Of course, they do want to feature one of the newest toys when it comes to offensive weapons for Dak Prescott. We know what he's been able to do in the past with Pittsburgh, and we saw a little bit of it when we saw training camp. We saw a little slight glimpse of it in game 1 versus Philadelphia. Okay, back to the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys, because you talked about that vaunted pass rusher that is no longer present. He's in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But you do have Kenny Clark coming in. He played very well in spot duty in game one. Now you have him. And the big question is, because we know that you have certain players that are healthy scratches or inactives. We know what happened with Mozzie Smith. He hasn't been released for the team. He's still on the roster as far as we know. What is your make of this whole situation? I mean, we know we have a former first-round pick. What's in the future for Mozzie Smith?
A lot of standing on the sideline. That's the future for Mozzie Smith. And listen, he gets to watch the game from the sideline. He gets to check every single week. I'm not saying that he should be happy, but he should be happy. I think the experiment of Mozzie Smith is over. The trying to make the thing work for Mozzie Smith is over. And unless there are significant injuries up front, you can see you can probably bet that Mozzie Smith is going to be a healthy scratch every single week. Here's the biggest problem. This is how different ownerships work. The one thing that I know about Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones hates, and I mean hates, I triple down on this, hates to give people money that aren't working for him anymore. So to release or to cut Mozzie Smith, with him being a first-round pick, the money is guaranteed. He doesn't want to do that. So at least he's going to make Mozzie Smith come to work, practice, be there, be a contributor. And if something happens within the scope of, Kenny Clark get injured or Oso or Solomon, or someone gets hurt in the front end, they'll have him to go in there as a rotational piece. But they've washed their hands with Mozzie Smith, in my opinion. And I think you're going to see a bunch of healthy scratches from Mozzie Smith throughout this year. And maybe they'll try to get something. If they can get a 6th or 7th round pick at the trade deadline for him, maybe they let him go then. But this Mozzie Smith experiment has come to an end.
Bleav Cowboys, Jesse Holley, Parrish, of course, brought to you by FanDuel. Looking forward to the Cowboys' next game. They are 0-1. They host the 0-1 Giants, so something's got to give. One of these teams has to win the game. Cowboys favored by 4.5 in this game. We'll see if that line changes as we get closer to kickoff. So, I'm looking at this game. We know that the Cowboys definitely do have some advantages when it comes down to it. Hey, who you got?
Yeah, for me in this football game, man, there shouldn't be. Let me say that. Football, she is a very, very unpredictable lady at times, and she can turn on you at the drop of a dime. But man, just watching the Giants all week on film, they're so bad offensively, and it's not as a whole. Their offensive line is awful. It is awful. I was watching plays. I think I was watching inside run plays. They probably had about 15 to 17 inside run plays. And there was about 8 plays in a row where a different offensive lineman got whooped and it created a negative play. Literally, they take turns. The center takes turns. Then it's the left guard. Then it's the right guard. Then it's the tackle. It's so bad. And
take turns.
I'm telling you, there was one play where their number 71, I forget his name. Man, he got whooped so bad it spun him around, and he ended up. No lie, he ended up tackling his own running back in the backfield. He got spun around, and when he came to, he was running head into his running back in the backfield. It's a comedy of errors on that offensive line. The Cowboys, we should be, if you're a Cowboy fan, you should be watching the game. You, me, us, we should be watching this game. And by the end of the second quarter, heading into halftime, we should be in complete control, and you should be looking for seconds. If you want another round of beers, that's on you. Go get you another round of beers. But it should be cruise control for this football game for the Dallas Cowboys. I have the Cowboys winning this football game 28-12 at home, going to 1-1. It's a must-win for the Cowboys also. Make no mistake about it. You go down 0-2 is one thing. You go down 0-2 and then 0-2 in your own division, boy, that's a steep hill to climb. So the Cowboys have to win this football game. I don't foresee it being a problem of them winning this football game. 28-12, Cowboys win their home opener.
28-12 is what he has. I'm just picking straight up. I don't even worry about the score. I did pick the Cowboys to win this game on my regular job. So I will stay consistent on Bleav in Cowboys. Cowboys will get the victory at home because of everything that man sitting next to me just said. He broke it all down for you. This is what we do every single week right here for you, right here on Bleav. So with all that said, you know what time it is. It's almost time to get out of here, Jesse. Leave the people with some good words.
Hey, man, make sure you guys are telling all your friends. Tell a friend about Bleav in the Cowboy Jesse Holley role, Parrish, man. And just have a great week, man. Be kind to somebody, man. Be a light to somebody, man. Just don't always have to be a cloud. But always remember, man, eliminate the contingencies.
Yes, indeed. Hey, love, respect, and salute.